Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Q2 FY22 earnings conference call of KIMS Hospitals hosted by IIFL Securities Limited. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star, then 0 on your touchtone telephone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Rahul Jeewani from IIFL Securities. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Yeah, thanks. Good morning, everyone. I welcome you to the earnings call with KIMS management. So from KIMS, we have with us Dr. Bhaskar Rao Bollineni, Managing Director, Dr. Abhinay Bollineni, CEO and Executive Director, and Mr. Vikas Maheshwari, CFO. Over to you, sir, for your opening comments, post which we can open the floor for Q&A. Thank you.
Good morning to all of you. I extend a warm welcome to all of you. Meeting with you always fills me with new energy and enthusiasm as you are the engines of our growth, while patients are our driving force. Your support enables us to access our services to more and more patients. As you are aware, vaccination drive is in
Ladies and gentlemen, the line for management is disconnected. Please hold while we reconnect them.
आपण ज्या व्यक्तीशी बोलत आहात त्यांनी आपला कॉल होल्ड वर ठेवला आहे. कृपया लाइन पर रहा. आप जिस व्यक्ति से बात कर रहे हैं उन्होंने आपके कॉल को होल्ड.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being on hold. The line for management is now reconnected. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Good morning. I extend a warm welcome to all of you. Meeting with you always fills me with new energy and enthusiasm as you are the engines of our growth, while patients are our driving force. Your supports enable us to access our services to more and more patients. As you are aware, vaccination drive is in full swing across the country and recently crossed 1,000 crores of population and still surging ahead. This keeps us in a relatively safe zone. Of course, there is no room for any kind of complacency. It will be prudent on our part to continue with the basic COVID protocols like wearing masks, sanitizing, and maintaining social distances. Even if third wave were to occur, there may not be much serious complications unlike in the past. Let us hope that this scourge of COVID will be behind us sooner than later. As you know, KIMS is the largest corporate hospital in Telugu states, having branches in most backward areas like Srikakulam also. The objective is to reach as many people as possible in the far-off areas where medical facilities are not much accessible. We have had a litany of clinical achievements during the quarter at our various branches. I propose the highlights of few such clinical achievements. The first ever kidney transplant done in KIMS Kurnool, rare neurosurgery performed to remove an advanced tumor at KIMS Kurnool, advanced thoracoscopy on a dialysis patient at KIMS Kurnool, a 3-year-old with a rare lung cancer treated successfully at KIMS Kurnool, nail from 1-year-old's boy intestine successfully removed in KIMS Kurnool, rare heart problem successfully operated in a high-risk surgery at KIMS Kurnool, first ever kidney transplant performed in Anantapur at KIMS Anantapur, first ever cochlear implant surgery in Anantapur done at KIMS Anantapur, rare nocardia infection treated successfully in a 60-year-old woman at KIMS Vizag, a rare cancer of the neck treated successfully at KIMS Vizag, I have highlighted the cases at our Kurnool, Anantapur and Vizag because earlier people of these areas were required to go to Bangalore, Chennai or Hyderabad in such situations. Now they can avail of the treatment in their respective places itself. Of course, treating such critical cases is a regular affair at our other branches centers. Successful treatment of such critical cases is a matter of great professional satisfaction and speaks volumes about the professional expertise and medical infrastructure available with us across the two states. Having spoken about clinical achievements, I will now proceed to apprise you of the financial and operational highlights and other initiatives. The financial highlights, the performance of Q2 is to be viewed in a special way against the backdrop of the pandemic. As you know, during Q2 of FY21, COVID was rampant and most of the beds were occupied by COVID-related cases. There was overall decline of the pandemic across the country in Q3 and it became almost insignificant in Q4 FY21, bringing back footfall of patients to pre-COVID levels. But unfortunately, the pandemic struck again in Q1 FY22 and beds were again predominantly occupied with COVID-related cases in FY22 Q1. The vaccine drive was also high in Q1, leading to spurt in revenue. Q2 of FY22 witnessed insignificant COVID cases and the position of occupancy and the footfalls came back to pre-COVID levels similar to Q4 of 21. Therefore, Q2 FY22 cannot be compared with Q2 of previous year and Q1 of FY22 due to high occupancy of COVID cases. Comparison between two incomparable situations does not reflect the real picture. So, a somewhat realistic comparison can be made with Q4 of FY21 and not with Q2 of FY21, as we would have done in the normal course. Consolidated operating revenue saw an increase of 15% against Q4 of FY21, standing at 4,118 crores. Increased patient flow, induction of additional expert doctors in existing specialties, consistent growth in heart and lung transplant program, and increasing normalization of business to pre-COVID levels contributed to this growth. Against Q1 of FY22, it saw a decrease of 13%. A consolidated EBITDA for Q2 of FY22 stood at 134 crores, growth of 27.7% against Q4 of FY21. EBITDA margins expansion was driven by a specialty mix change of our Q4 FY21 last year and operational leverage. EBITDA margins grew 32.2% in Q2 FY22 from 31% in Q1 of FY22, primarily led to tightened control on medical consumption cost. Consolidated PAT of 84 crores in Q2 FY22 at 20.2%. PAT margin compared to Q4 of FY21 was 16.2% and in Q1 of FY22 was 19.3%. As on 30th September 2021, on consolidated basis, we are net debt free. Out of IPO proceeds, Group has repaid the term loans to the tune of 150 crores. We have compared to Q2 FY22 against Q4 FY21 as Q2 FY21 and Q1 FY22 was COVID-19 impacted quarters. Operational highlights. Q2 FY22 occupancy stood as 59.8% against 60.1% in Q4 of FY21 and in Q1 FY22 was 62.2% based on our bed capacity. IP discharged volume has increased to 36,000 plus in Q2 FY22 against 32,000 in Q4 FY21, transplanting to a growth of 11%, and it is increasing from 31,000 in Q1 FY22 as volume of major specialties has increased on account of normalization. OP consultation volume has increased from 2.8 lakhs in Q2 FY22 from 2.62 lakhs in Q4 FY21 and also increased from Q1 FY22 from 1.82 lakhs. Average length of stay has improved from 5.06 days in Q4 FY21 and 5.47 days in Q1 FY22 to 4.61 days in Q2 FY22. Our average revenue per patient has increased from 1.09 lakhs in Q4 FY21 to rupees 1.15 lakhs in Q2 FY22, which is a growth of 5%, and decreased from Q1 FY22 from 1.49 lakhs. Our average revenue per operating bed in Q2 FY22 has improved from 24,877 against 21,591 rupees in Q4 FY21. This is driven by better payer mix and increase in complex surgeries and procedures. You can see the results are encouraging and the growth trajectory will be maintained and improved still further in spite the previous quarters were dominated by the COVID. We have our digital initiatives. KIMS Hospital has embarked on a journey of digital transformation across financial, clinical, operational, patient engagement with the initiatives as below. Realized phase of S4 HANA deeply integrated with hospital information system and other core applications has been completed. User acceptance testing is under progress this quarter. Digital clinical applications have been deployed for nurses and doctors allowing the care team to access and update patient records on a mobile phone or a tablet, resulting in a better collaboration and timely action for admitted patients. Digital applications have been deployed for the operations team to expedite admissions, queue management and counsel patients. Patient experience is being improved by a service management application that tracks and resolves patient feedback for services provided by the hospital. Patient mobile application is under development. KIMS is building a digital platform using an API-based technology model to integrate production applications with the digital that will result in a modern user-friendly experience for knowledge workers in the hospital and a patient-centric approach to engage with the patients and their families. By doing this digitalization, we have helped a lot of patients by cutting down their waiting list during the time of pre-waiting for surgery as well as for investigations, and as well as they can also improve to facilitate the discharge process. With all these things, we could be able to achieve much better than compared to the pre-digital era. We have some ESG initiatives. KIMS Secunderabad has partnered with Smart Joules Private Limited, a prominent energy service company, in 2018. A new and innovative model known as Joule Pace was executed wherein KIMS makes zero capital investment to implement various energy conservation measures across the hospital and gets a guaranteed energy savings of minimum 10% annually over the baseline energy. With this, we could be able to save a lot of electricity, LPG savings, diesels, and the carbon dioxide also saved a much better, nearly Q2, 669 tons. In the total revenue, Telangana as a cluster contributed about 65%. Other acquired assets such as KIMS Ongole, KIMS Anantapur, KIMS Vizag have stabilized at occupancy levels similar to our matured units. The EBITDA margins also stabilized at 20% and they are expected to grow further. As we presented in earlier meeting, the other expansion plans are also on track and are moving as per schedule. Let me now speak about our latest acquisitions of the prestigious Sunshine Hospitals, which is a landmark hospital in orthopedic care, founded by Dr. Gurva Reddy, who is a renowned personality in the field. Sunshine has a network of 3 hospitals in Telangana with a total bed capacity of 600 beds with a primary focus on orthopedics. Sunshine Hospitals has become the second largest joint replacement center from Southeast Asia. It is only the second hospital in Asia to have a full membership of the prestigious International Society of Orthopedic Centers. Sunshine enjoys certain other unique accomplishments like first hospital in India with the ISOC membership. Only 2 from India have this membership. 4,000 total joint replacements performed on average every year. More than 10,000 surgeries annually, all the orthopedic subspecialties. More than 700 robotic knee replacements done in less than 18 months, fastest in the world. Together, KIMS and Sunshine Hospitals in Hyderabad have 1,725 beds, which further strengthens our prime position in healthcare sector. KIMS is an established leader in providing cardio, neuro, and renal care, oncology. Now with Sunshine in our fold, we will be making a vital contribution to the field of orthopedics as well. The current occupancy at Sunshine is 40%. We are confident of scaling it up substantially, which will enhance the revenues. We are very confident that this new acquisition of Sunshine will augur well for the future with handsome results. Dear investors, I have a very positive and optimistic vision of our future, and I am sure we will reach greater heights in the days ahead with your support. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on your touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handset while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question from the line of Praveen Sahay from Edelweiss Financial. Please go ahead. Praveen Sahay, your line is unmuted. Please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for taking my question, and congratulations for a good set of numbers. So the first question is related to the COVID. Can you share the COVID numbers for a quarter? How much is the revenue or EBITDA?
Yep. So I think in Q2 the numbers were to the tune of 5 to 7%, which was similar to what it was in Q4 across all our hospitals.
Okay. And also on the operating beds, this time you had not given. How much is the operating beds?
It remains the same at 2,500 beds. 2246. 2246, sorry.
Okay. And yeah. So and the next question is related to the occupancy in the matured facilities. We had seen a significant jump there, the occupancy. So I can assume that's what you had also mentioned, that elective surgeries are picked up significantly. So is that sustainable, what we have reported for a quarter, or is just an just an opening of the post of COVID? It's just a 1 quarter of a higher occupancy we are seeing.
No, I think like we said in the call, Q4 was something that was completely we saw as pre-COVID levels. Q2 also has similarly reflected. In fact, even post Q2, it continues to remain the same. So we don't see any substantial impact to what we have seen in Q2 moving forward, except for some seasonal changes, but nothing beyond that. I think these are numbers moving forward that will sustain.
Okay. And lastly, on the expansion side, so you had also given that's a Bangalore, Chennai, and the West India expansions and some timelines. So, like the earlier ones, so there are Kondapur, Vizag, there is a timeline. So from where we can consider the timeline, like from here onwards 36 months, or how is that actually when you are going to start the Chennai one? From there, the 36 months or what?
As mentioned in the presentation, we have said starting from April 2021. So we are saying that is the base, and from there 36, 24, whatever timelines we have given.
Okay. And secondly, related to that, the Chennai also you had mentioned that's 400 crore of a capex. As I understand that we have a Chennai, we have a land already. So over that you are expecting a 1 crore per bed of capex.
So this Chennai, we have already procured land. So this project cost is including the cost of the land that we have factored.
Okay.
And over a period of time, this is not just a 400-bedded facility; it can scale beyond. So initially, because we are building up the structure for a larger facility, we are also procuring land for the entire facility. The cost per bed will be slightly higher, but moving forward, it will come down as you add incremental beds.
Okay, got it. I'll come in a queue. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you may press star 1 to ask a question. The next question from the line of Devesh, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Good morning, and congratulations for good set of numbers. I had two quick questions. One is around your digital transformation initiative, which is a great step, by the way. I just want to understand that how do we track the success of it? One is in terms of operational efficiency, and secondly, is it going to contribute in the growth of business, or it's primarily for operational efficiency? That's the first question.
It will contribute to both. Basically, once we have been seen, these are all interlinked. Once the happy patients are going from hospital, whatever is these are the patients who keep coming in the last 2 decades. When they say their improvement, they will go and spend. Apart from improving the patient quality care by digitalization here, we also find out some value-added things, how we can able to attract and more patients from other areas. Some we can able to get the pre-operatively, we can able to get the all the data. All these years they are coming and they may or they may not go. Sometimes they may not able to come here. By interacting with us, that will definitely help to improve our footfalls.
Got it, sir. Thank you. Second one was more tactical piece. This Sunshine acquisition, when do we see this getting completed and reflected in our numbers? And what is the approximate timeline when you see they can start contributing to the same margin that we have at a console level currently? Just a ballpark range would be good.
So Devesh, I am Vikas Maheshwari. So Sunshine as a structure we have is a little bit structured deal where we have acquired the partly paid up shares and the fully paid up shares. So right now we are holding 17.57% of the fully diluted equity with us, and whatever these partly paid up shares are there, that will get fully paid up by April 22. So till March 22 in this financial year, it will be an associates with us, where we will just have a one line item in our P&L for the share of the profit from the associate. From the April, it will get fully consolidated line by line, and we will hold 51.07% stake on that company.
Okay, great. And when do you expect them to sort of improve in productivity to come at our EBITDA levels 1 year, 2 year down the line?
Yeah, I think we have a 24-month timeline, 24 to 36-month timeline. The way we've looked at Sunshine is the current occupancies. One is they're strategically located in micro markets that we don't currently operate in. So it gives us entry to those new micro markets. Their current occupancy is around 40%. And given that there are, as a brand, we are well established, we are well connected to clinical doctors, our ability to bring a lot more talent and retain the current talent is quite superior. So we are hopeful to start engaging with new consultants and bring them on board so that we can do a revenue ramp up over a period of the next 24 months. So this will bring in a lot of operational leverage from the current level. And the other synergies that we are seeing, other two synergies that we're seeing is in consumable optimization. Given that our scale is substantially bigger than Sunshine, our procurement cost is very different from what they are currently procuring. So there's a substantial saving that we foresee, and we'll implement that in the next 6 to 9 months. And the other cost that we see synergies is in HR cost. Though our corporate cost has always been very lean, I think it'll by these synergies, given that we are operating in the same market, we can bring in a little more synergies on this.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the response. Okay.
Thank you. A reminder to all participants, you may enter star one to ask a question. The next question from the line of Rahul Jeewani from IIFL Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sir, I had a few queries with respect to the Sunshine Hospitals acquisition. Now, this 40% occupancy for Sunshine, is there a component of one-off COVID component sitting in that number? And which are the key specialties which you will focus on apart from orthopedics to drive a ramp up in occupancy at Sunshine?
So the current occupancy, so even if you look at FY20, their average occupancy has been around 38-40%. So there is no one-off COVID sitting even in FY21. It has normalized over a period of time. Now, the focus currently, if you look at Sunshine, almost 50% of their revenue is driven from from orthopedics. 15% is driven from cardiac, and the rest of the specialties contribute the rest of the 35%. Our idea is to bring down orthopedics to as low as 30% and focus and make it a truly multi-speciality hospital by bringing in more consultants in other specialties other than ortho and cardiac. So there is a lot of clinical talent that we want to bring together in the other specialties other than these two.
Sure, sir. And with respect to margins at Sunshine Hospital, so we have seen that the margins have significantly improved in FY21. So 20, their margins were around 9%, which improved to 18% in 21. So what led to that margin improvement? And within that EBITDA number, which has been reported by Sunshine, is what would be the contribution of the COVID business in FY21 EBITDA numbers?
Sure. So if you look at the growth in revenue from FY20 to FY21, it is close to 40 crores, and the EBITDA also grew by close to 35 crores. Now it is so Sunshine is completely sitting on a lot of operating leverage. They in FY18 or FY19 they happened to open a new project in Gachibowli, which was just turning around, and in FY21 it kind of reached quite a substantial improvement in the occupancy. So whatever growth you have seen in revenue has directly contributed significantly to the EBITDA margin because of operating leverage. And the other thing that they have done is they had a loss-making entity in Bhubaneswar, which kind of had a drag of almost 5 to 6 crores on FY20 numbers. So that was closed in FY21 and sold to some other party. So that numbers are also reflecting.
Sure. So this Bhubaneswar asset is no longer in the FY21 numbers as such?
Correct. It got shut down in FY20.
Okay, thanks. And you spoke about the fact that you will have operating synergies on the consumable side as well as some of the other operating line items. But what kind of a scope do you see in improving EBITDA margins for Sunshine? Because in our matured hospitals, we make almost 30% kind of a margin. And for Sunshine Hospital, among the 3 hospitals which they operate, only one is a recently opened facility, whereas the other 2 facilities have been operating for quite some time. So do you think that we can achieve 25-26% kind of a margin on Sunshine over the next 2 to 3 year period?
So the one difference is Sunshine operates out of a rented premises. Unfortunately, all 3 of them are in a rented premises. So achieving the same margin that we typically achieve in our mature facilities is a little unlikely. But I think what we are achieving in Kondapur, which is again a rented facility to the tune of 23 to 25% in the next 24 to 36 months is certainly doable. Also, given the fact one of the facility which is located in Karimnagar is a small facility. It's more like a secondary care facility. So I don't think that facility will ever move the needle to a 20% kind of a margin. But it's not a significant contribution to the revenue currently or the EBITDA currently. So our focus will continue to remain only on the Gachibowli and Secunderabad hospital, which are present in the city of Hyderabad.
Sure, sir. And with respect to some of our other acquisition plans, so last quarter we had indicated that we are looking to acquire some asset in Western India as well. So where are we with respect to M&A in some of the other markets?
So we have been looking at opportunities in Central India and Western India, and we have been doing some work around a transaction that we are very closely following up. We should probably bring it to the table in the next 30 to 45 days if legally things come through.
Sure, sir. And so some of these other assets which you are looking in Central and Western India, would these assets be as big enough as Sunshine, or what kind of a strategy would you have on the M&A side in some of these other markets?
Yes, I think our minimum scale is we need 200 to 250 beds to begin with the opportunity to scale to beyond 350 beds. So whatever acquisitions that we are looking at are typically on the similar size and scale.
Okay. And just one last question from my end. So with respect to our greenfield projects in Bangalore and Chennai, so last quarter we had indicated that there has been some delay with respect to initiating construction at these hospitals. So where are we with respect to the Bangalore and Chennai hospitals?
So as far as Chennai hospital is concerned, we've already procured land. We are in the permission phase. We have already factored 9 months for this financial year to just go for permission approval, and then another 25 to 30 months for construction. I think we should receive permission for that land parcel in the next 3 months, and if we do so, we can then start construction activity.
Okay, and with respect to Bangalore?
Bangalore also on the similar lines. We had anticipated to complete the transaction last month, but I think we will table it in the next 30 days. And we should be able to complete the transaction then.
Okay,
and we will continue to achieve it within the 36-month timeline that we had earlier forecasted.
Okay, so then ideally speaking, Bangalore and Chennai hospitals would not contribute to our financials before FY25 as such?
Correct. You're right.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, sir. Thanks.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you may press star 1 to ask a question. The next question from the line of Praveen Sai from Edelweiss Financial. Please go ahead.
Yeah, just to follow up on the previous participant's question. So as you have good expansion plans, what kind of debt you are expecting in the coming years to be comfortable on?
So Praveen, thanks for asking this question. As you saw our financials, we are sitting on some cash as on 30th of September, but that cash is more or less is committed for completing the Sunshine acquisition. So 230 crore rupees upfront payment has gone, and the balance 132 crore rupees will go over a period of time. So with this, the existing cash which we have with us is almost completed with that. So the transaction with respect to the other project, which is Bangalore, Chennai, and other Central India, that is something like that in next 24 to 36 months, we are seeing the outlay of something like that 1,100 crore rupees on these 3 projects. And the only thing is that the land part, which is the lumpy part, which comes first, and then the balance, the progress in terms of the constructions happens over a period of time, and medical equipment, etc., happens over a period of time. So if you take a larger view of the 3 years, if you look at our financials, we are generating something like that 350, 400 crore rupees of the cash on the existing business. And if you take it on the same basis for the next 3 years, we are something like generating 1,100, 1,200 crore rupees of the cash. So this will supplement and finish off our project, which we are anticipating for Bangalore, Chennai, and Central India. Obviously, there will be a sum which we will be taking, but I don't think even if we are taking some 200, 300 crore rupees of the debt for the funding initial cost of the project, it will cross 1 also. Debt to EBITDA will not cross 1. We are something like that looking at the clarity of I analyze the quarter second numbers, I don't think we will be able to cross 1:1 to the debt to EBITDA. So we are comfortable position. The financials are very strong. The financials which we have built, there is a strong foundations to take this company to the next growth level with these acquisitions or the greenfield projects.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you for such an elaborative answer. The second is related to this expansion, because previously and in the recent Sunshine acquisition also done in the Andhra and Telangana region, and your mix of tier 2 versus the one metro cities is quite very defined. But now you are going to Bangalore and the Chennai and also in the Western India. So how you will, because they are the cost, the capex per bed versus your pricing is very important. So how you will actually mitigate those risks, because you are going from one region to a totally different regions, like for Bangalore, Chennai, then Western India. So what's your strategy, or you can just highlight in some little more on that, whether in the Western India only with the M&A strategy where you will go. How is that planned to tackle those?
Thanks for asking this question. See, basically what we are looking is the last few months we are putting this idea into across our medical community, and we got a very good response of the consultants who are willing to come and join with us, and then we identified few of them in most of the places. So the hospital business is a very easy business, provided if you able to understand the business. The only thing is you need to have a good amount of financial support which can build the technology and infrastructure. The second important thing is you need to get the right talent, especially the medical talent. Once that comes, and I think we can able to move forward in a better way. That's what is the recent few hospitals has been shown, and we were also following that. So as far as all these three places are concerned, there will not be any issue of getting the talent, both medical and the top management of the non-medical side, and we already identified. And moving forward, then we are also looking at better places. So I think it's not a big issue at all. We have a stable financial thing, and we may not able to require huge amounts of finances to be taken to finish these 3 projects or 4 projects put together, and talent is already there.
Okay, thank you. And the next on your comment, you had mentioned in the presentation of a new doctor addition in the existing specialties. So will that increase your employee expenses, or how to treat this?
It will certainly increase employee expenses, but it will also bring in a lot more revenue. At the same time, there's this so the employee expenses may go up by 15-20%, but the revenue comes up much higher, and there's a lot of operating leverage synergies that we'll get because of these incremental departments that we bring in.
Okay, and any, if you can highlight where you had added?
So we have added across all hospitals, but significant numbers have been added, or change has been brought in Kondapur hospital. We have talked about some significant addition in Secunderabad hospital and Visakhapatnam hospital.
Okay. And as I can see in this quarter, your average revenue per patient has been down significantly on a YOY and sequential basis as well. So, my question is, should we consider these level as a stable level the way forward? Because now as you had also mentioned that the COVID business is almost over. So this is the stable number, 1,14,000 or 15,000.
Yeah, that should be the stable number moving forward, between 1,10,000 to 1,15,000.
Nothing to do with the payer mix change. Like there also we had seen some changes in the payer mix. So like of Aarogyasri contribution increased or corporate contribution increased. Is that going to be at this level, or there also we will see some variation?
No, so I think you will see these numbers sustaining moving forward. There is some changes that we have made in few of the hospitals, largely Secunderabad, on the corporate and Aarogyasri mix. We have changed some of that mix, and this is something that we foresee that will sustain moving forward.
Change towards increasing of this or a decreasing?
Increasing cash and insurance.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks a lot, and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question from the line of Ashish Kabra from Fairdeal Traders. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thanks for taking my question and congratulations for a good set of numbers. So basically, I have two questions.
Hello? Hello?
Ashish Kabra, your line is unmuted. Please go ahead with your question. May we request you to unmute yourself if muted from the handset?
Yeah, hello.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt, but we can't hear you, sir. Your voice is breaking.
Like for the FY22 second quarter, that was 60%.
Sir, your voice is breaking and we are not able to understand the question.
As there is no response, we move to the next question. The next question from the line of Ananda from PGIM India Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Thanks for taking my question. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Yeah. So with regard to your capacity expansion plans, so at least for FY22 and 23, the only bed addition would be your Sunshine acquisition, right? All the other expansion plan in terms of impact on your P&L, it will happen only from FY24 or FY25 onwards. That would be a fair way to understand.
Correct. So we will also, our current operational beds are 20% lower than our overall capacity. We are going to, effective from this month, we will operationalize a lot more beds in our current capacity. So there is some opportunity for growth in the current bed capacity itself, and the incremental bed addition will be the Sunshine Hospitals for the coming financial year.
Okay. And in terms of your peak occupancy, theoretically, what is the kind of peak occupancy that you can reach for your current assets or your current consolidated base? What would be the peak occupancy that one can achieve?
Most of the beds that are not operational are in the acquired assets. If you look at our mature hospitals, we've been able to scale up to 75-80% kind of an occupancy. So
Correct.
In our acquired assets, we are currently at 60%. I think there is an opportunity for us to further scale up in those.
Okay. So basically, the way the growth in terms of your volume growth, if I were to understand, it would be basically your total increasing your total operational beds and also increasing the occupancy of your acquired assets from 65% to 75%.
Yeah. Currently acquired are largely around 60%, 58-60%. We will aspire to scale it up to the mature hospital levels.
Okay. And with regard to your expansion plans, apart from these expansion plans that you have mentioned across, say, Kondapur, Vizag, Anantapur, Bangalore, Chennai, and Western Central India, so largely for the next 3 to 5 years, this is what you would be your latest goal in terms of your overall aspirational target in terms of expansion, or are there still gaps in the portfolio either in terms of specialties, therapies, or in terms of micro markets where you would continue to look for expansion?
So I think these are plans that are concrete and we will certainly execute in the timeline that we have defined. we are also, given our current debt position and our ability to raise debt, we're also looking at opportunities within AP Telangana and within the new micro markets that we are expanding to, let it be tier 2, tier 3 markets or in the metro cities. So we will not breach the 1:2 debt to EBITDA kind of a number, but we are still looking for more opportunities, either through semi brownfield or acquisition of current running hospitals.
Okay. But the current expansion plans, if you don't go beyond the current expansion plans, your debt to EBITDA would be restricted at 1:1. Only in case you look at any further new inorganic acquisitions or expansion plans, that's when it would go beyond 1:1. That's the way one should understand it?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And in terms of specialties, are there any gaps that you would want to fill, or are there any gaps that you invested in the next couple of years?
So I think if you look at the expansion plan, we are talking about adding cancer in Vizag and Anantapur and Ongole. So we see that gap there. We're adding mother and child in Anantapur. We see a clinical gap there. So we are time and again taking assessment of each of our current hospitals and the clinical work that we're doing there. And we are adding a lot of this new specialties, largely on the cancer oncology front.
Okay. And say the last year government had also announced some attractive funding rates for capex related on the healthcare sector. So would you be availing any of these attractive funding rates that government had announced for your expansion plans?
Yes, certainly yes.
Okay. Thank you. I think that's all from my end.
Sure.
Thank you. The next question from the line of Mehul Seth from Axis Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. So, one question on, like, now the things are getting normal, like most of like a post-COVID scenario. So how do you see the following quarters or the year moving, like for the revenue in all terms, like in revenue, margin, as well as on your occupancy side? How you are seeing the trend going ahead?
I think Q2 was a very normal quarter for us. We had very little work of COVID, like I mentioned, 5 to 8%. I think that will continue to be there moving forward, even in Q3 and Q4, and subsequent years to come forward. So I don't see any change that will happen from Q2 to Q3 and Q3 to Q4, except for some seasonal variation. But other than that, we've already experienced complete pre-COVID level and normalcy in most of our locations that we operate in.
Yeah. So I guess you in earlier Q1 call you guided EBITDA margin somewhere in range of around 27 to 28%. That will be more of a sustainable margin. But already you are in a 30% plus margin. So where do you see this EBITDA margin moving from now?
Yes, we anticipated it would be around the 27-28%, but also a lot of the acquired assets turned around sooner than we expected it to. I mean, given that we were transitioning from the post-COVID levels, and we are seeing those numbers sustain. And I think what we are currently seeing in this quarter looks like will sustain for the foreseeable future.
And so one last question on your payer mix. So last quarter, cash plus insurance was somewhere in range of around 87%, and now it has come down to 78%. So where do you see this payer mix will be in coming quarters and all?
Whatever you've seen in Q2 is what is going to sustain in the subsequent quarters. If you look at Q4 and Q2, they're very similar. So these are the numbers that will sustain moving forward.
So we can consider this cash plus insurance can be like 75%, nearby 75 to 80% range. That will be more of a. Yeah.
That is more sustainable. And this is at a KIMS level, but when you add Sunshine, it will further go up.
Yeah. Also on the occupancy side, sir, where do you see your margin the occupancy as is moving with a increase in the electives and all. So where do you see your occupancy over next few quarters? Like, will there be any specific target that you are having to achieve some specific occupancy number?
So I think we are currently in our mature hospitals at around 75% kind of an occupancy. We are working on optimizing on the ALOS. We're trying to reduce it in few of our mature hospitals. One, we believe that there's a lot of headroom for growth in the current acquired hospitals. They're at a 60% kind of an occupancy. There's opportunity for it to scale up to 70-75% over a period of time, given that they're only 4 years and we lost a year and a half only in COVID. So that's one opportunity. And in the current hospitals, we believe that the 75% can scale up to 80 to 85% kind of an occupancy over a period of time.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you for your time, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question from the line of Rahul Jeewani from IIFL Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, sir. So, sir, you mentioned that on the acquired hospitals, you have seen better turnaround with respect to the operations at these acquired hospitals ramping up. Now, my understanding was that some of these acquired hospitals in tier 2, tier 3 markets would have benefited from patient leakages, which typically happens from tier 2 markets into metros, which wasn't there during the COVID period. So now with markets gradually opening up across the country, have you seen any early trends that maybe the patient volumes which you were having in these acquired hospitals in tier 2, tier 3 markets, there is some sort of a leakage which is again happening into metros?
No, so if you heard my conversation in the past, even in FY20, the last quarter, the numbers that we were doing in the current quarter for these acquired assets, we kind of reached those kind of levels before the first wave of the pandemic hit. So I don't think it has anything to do with the lockdown scenarios and the travel scenario, but things have improved, and then it took a year and a half beating because of a lot of ups and downs. We believe that most of the numbers that we've achieved in the acquired assets are sustainable and will continue to sustain and grow from there on.
Okay. So on the acquired hospitals, the occupancies of 60% and margins of 21% are largely sustainable?
Yes.
Okay, sure. And with respect to the heart and lung transplant division, we were trending at around 6 to 7 crore of monthly revenue on that business. So where are we now on the heart and lung transplant division, and are you looking to further scale up that part of the portfolio?
So we're sustaining the same number even in quarter 2, but this is completely dependent on donor availability across the country, donor calls, the quality of the donor that we receive. So this is one specialty which is very difficult to predict. In a month we can do 10 transplants, in a month we'll end up doing just 2 transplants. So it's a very fluctuating scenario. But in Q2, we've been able to sustain what we have done in the previous quarters.
Sure, sir. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. The next question from the line of Bhavin Patel, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir, for the opportunity. And first of all, congratulations for good sets of number and recent acquisition. Now my question is on the telemedicine front in 2 parts. First is what is the approx revenue percentage of the telemedicine front as a total revenue of the company? And secondly, what is our expectation on this front? Are we looking to grow on this front? Are there any definitive plans on this front, marketing, new infrastructure for telemedicine, etc.? Thank you.
So currently our revenues from telemedicine is very, very, very insignificant. And our intent is to scale up the platform, but not, it is a service as an extension to our current inpatients. So patients who get discharged from the hospital, we don't need them to come back to the hospital for review. We can provide an online consultation platform for them to visit the doctor. It saves time for the patient as well as the doctor. So that is an operational efficiency parameter that we're bringing in, but nothing from a revenue stream point of view. I think it's a complete different business in itself, and it requires a different skill set to run that business. Our focus is to build tertiary care, quaternary care hospitals.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Jacob, you can take the next question.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yeah.
The next question from the line of Sumit Chaudhary from Java. Please go ahead.
Yes, hi, Dr. Balini and team. Thanks for taking my question and congrats on a good set of numbers. Couple of questions. One, just on the transplant bit, just wanted to understand how big is the transplant specialty revenue in the quarter gone by, and if I understood it correctly, it obviously the the revenue that you or number of procedures that you undertake in a quarter is a function of donor availability, etc. So if I could just understand about the predictability of the guidance so that the current run rate of revenue and EBITDA should sustain, how do you get comfort in that?
So I think transplant historically in at least the last 3 quarters have been contributing to almost 4 to 5%. I am referring to just the heart and lung transplant of the overall revenue. And then we have a liver transplant as well as kidney transplant program, which also contributes to a substantial number. So moving forward, I think it should sustain, because transplant is not just all about transplanting the patient. There's a lot more care that is provided. There's a lot of ICU work that is done for patients who require a transplant or post the transplant. So the core transplantation work, there could be fluctuation based on availability, but the respiratory intensive care work and the other work will continue to remain.
Okay. So it sounds like you're at least for the current run rate should be fairly predictable, even despite it sounds like it's about 10%, which is transplant driven revenue for you, which should be at least maintained, it sounds like.
No, so currently it is around 5%, including heart, lung, liver, and kidney.
Okay, including all of that. Okay.
Including all of that.
Understood.
Moving forward, it's very subjective to donor availability, but I think it will sustain at a 2 to 3% kind of a number. That's the bare minimum that it will certainly do. The upside is purely based on availability and stuff.
Understood. And just to clarify on the Sunshine acquisition, so you have mentioned 730 crores of EV and you're buying 51% of that. So 2 parts to the question. One, any reason for the deal to be structured the way it is in terms of partly paid and then you pay off in April? Any particular reason for that to have been the case? And second, just to clarify, your total outgo will be basically 730 crores into 51% for this.
So, Sumit, Vikas Maheshwari. So, once we were discussing with the company, they have already done the right issue and there was a partly paid up shares. So, we didn't have any other option but to go with this structure. And nevertheless, we reached to our target of 51.07% by April, which meets our requirements. So, there is nothing on that we have to structure this way. This is what the company had at that time of we engaged with them and closed the deal. So we have gone ahead with that. It's also something like that. It avoided going the full cash out of the system, and it helps both the sides. So this is where we have structured the deal. And the enterprise value which we have listed is roughly 730 crore rupees. Out of that, roughly net debt was roughly 20 crore rupees on Sunshine. So the equity value is something like that, 710 crore rupees odd amount. And on that, 51% is roughly 362 crore rupees, which we have to pay. 230 crore rupees we have already paid, and the balance will go as per the call money as and when the company is raising. This is mostly on the monthly basis, and by April it will get completed.
Understood. Okay, thanks and good luck.
Thanks, Sumit.
Thank you. The next question from the line of Ashok Kumar, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, good afternoon to the entire management team, and congratulations for this great set of results. Yeah, so my question will be on the new acquisition of Sunshine. As we can see from their financial statement that the PAT has gone, and as well as the EBITDA margin has also gone up from 9% to 18%. But still, if you see that the EBITDA margin is lesser than the KIMS EBITDA, so on a consolidated basis, do you think that the blended EBITDA margin will be lesser than what currently KIMS is doing?
Yeah, I think it will certainly be lesser because of two reasons. One is the scale at which KIMS is operating is different. Number two, they operate out of rental premises, and almost 4 to 5% of the revenue goes straight as rental costs. So it will never be able to get to the levels of a KIMS. But I think what is certainly sustainable is anywhere between a 23 to 26% or 24 to 26% kind of an EBITDA margin.
For the Sunshine you are saying, right?
Correct.
And when can we able to be achieve that kind of a margin, that 23, 22? Because now integration things and other synergy benefits will come into picture. So how soon you think that you could be able to achieve that margin guidance of 23 to 26%?
So I think we will take around 6 months to stabilize things and integrate all the systems, and from there around 18 months is where we're looking to get to full maturity. 18 to say 24 months from today to 36 months is where we will be able to mature this asset in its occupancy.
Sure. And since we don't have any further detail of Sunshine, just wanted to understand how the business are going on FY22 and how are your expectations on EBITDA as well as on the PAT front. If you can give some idea. So just wanted to understand that how this merger will affect in your FY22 results.
So I think the revenue ramp up has been fairly good in Sunshine. They have also added a lot of new clinicians, and they have seen the Gachibowli unit, which is recently a new unit, turn around to healthy numbers, a healthy occupancy and healthy margins. So I think overall they will certainly exceed their FY21 numbers and do substantially better than what they have done in FY21.
So and lastly, if I see the occupancy level of Sunshine in last 2 financial year almost remain flat near 30-40%. So now you are saying that the occupancy are now been moving up for Sunshine as well. So what is the level of occupancy that you are experiencing in FY22 for Sunshine?
FY22, I think the occupancy is around 45% so far.
Okay. Okay. And since now the integration happens with KIMS as well as with KIMS with Sunshine, and how would that affect on your operational cost saving for the entire group now?
So like I said, our corporate costs are anyways a little lean. So there are some synergies, but not very materialistic to the P&L. What is more material is the cost of consumables and the optimization that we will bring in consumables. So we, to the tune of almost 10% of FY21's EBITDA is how much we are anticipating as savings from consumable optimization moving forward.
Okay, thank you. So all the best for the coming quarters. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. As there are no further questions from the participants, I now hand the conference over to the management for closing comments.
So thank you very much for the questions, valid questions you have been asked, and then we were geared up to continue to grow and continue to show good quality work to our patients. And also, as I mentioned in my talk during my road show, that we are very keen that the investors and the doctors and the patients are the key people, and we are continuing to do the same thing. And we will, with this plan of action and the very judiciously, we are going to deploy the future expansion plans. Maybe we will do much better than what we promised during my investors show, and even this financial year we have done better than what we promised, and that is our strategy so far. So thank you very much for joining us and continuous support from all of you.
Thank you very much. On behalf of IIFL Securities Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.